the quality of real estate agents had been allowed to decline in America to a certain extent. I don't want to paint with too wide a brush on that, but there are certain areas where anybody who could pass a breathing test could get their real estate license, and that harms the consumer.
Sounds like radio.
Yeah,
if you could fog a mirror, go ahead, crack the mic.
Yeah, you get some slick lawyers, and they can have a big time with that, and that's what happened.
This is the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast, a podcast about Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals. Mostly.
Yeah, so Nick Woodard is you said you called him a ninja?
Yeah.
You barely ever
never see him. He's always working. He's always hitting somebody in the mouth.
Is that something that you prefer? You study up on realtors?
I prefer low maintenance, high productivity.
Don't we all?
I mean, if you don't, you're kind of dumb, right? I mean, this is a business show, right? So there's your first business precept right there.
Yeah, low maintenance, low headache, and high productivity.
That's right.
Often we start out with the opposite. We know that for sure in our business.
Yes, we've had a few of those around too. Yeah.
I mean, this isn't something you've always done, though. You started out a long time ago in an entirely different area.
That's right. I spent a little over 18 and a half years in commercial printing.
Printing?
Yep. That was my family industry. My father was in the industry. My great uncles, my grandfather was in the industry, and not in the same company, but in the industry.
And you and I met initially at the radio station. Yeah. I want to say probably in 12 or 13.
Probably so.
And you had did you just get Benchmark off the ground around that time?
No. I actually left commercial printing in Y2K.
Okay.
And started in real estate and started out selling houses just like everybody else, knocking on doors, trying to get some business.
Yeah.
And worked with a large builders in Williamson County and kind of built the business up to that. And that's why I started Benchmark Realty. Was to serve the 5 or 6 custom home builders I had cultivated.
And that was through the printing business?
No, I'd already left printing in 2000 and had begun real estate. And I got my license in real estate in 2002, actually.
I got you.
The interim there between 2000 and 2002, I was a rehabber, a flipper.
Oh,
but we didn't know that term back then. That's been invented by HGTV.
I first heard that term right around that time. We were in Vegas.
Yeah.
So those of you just tuning in, just listening in, the guest we're talking to today is Mr. Phillip Cantrell. He's with you own Benchmark Realty. It's a really cool brand. One of the, I would say one of the best cultures in the real estate industry, at least here in the Middle Tennessee, because, once agents come on board, they typically don't leave.
Yeah.
That's something that's a huge feather in your cap.
That's right.
And if you're listening, this is a great episode, especially when if you're somebody who's in a job and you're maybe thinking about pivoting, making a switch in your life. You've heard me talk about before, I believe people from 37 to 42, 43, they have a reckoning. They either stick with what they're doing or they go, you know what, it's just not me anymore. There's something else I got to do.
They yearn for something more.
Is that what it was like for you?
Yes. I had begun fooling with houses, renovating houses, fixing them up. I'm a heck of a trim carpenter, but it's not the highest and best use of my talents. Fixing them up on the side as early as 1988.
Yeah.
In conjunction with my printing career. So I was running parallel and realized that real estate was where I wanted to go, where I wanted to be. So I left commercial printing in 2000 and then started rehabbing houses, did that for a couple of years, got my license, founded Benchmark in the front room of our house in 2006, March 19th, 2006. So we just passed our 20th birthday.
Oh, wow.
And today we have we have 11, 12 locations in Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Georgia, Chattanooga, mostly in Middle Tennessee, though. And collectively, our team we'll probably sell north of $5 billion in real estate sales this year.
Yes,
have about 2,000.
A little bit of money.
Yeah, a couple of bucks there. I wish I got to keep all that.
Well, typically it's made up mostly of the house value.
Yes,
and what it goes for,
is absolutely. It's all about that. That is a sum total of all the real estate that our people have sold.
Well, it didn't start this way.
No.
Talk about your early, like when did you have any entrepreneurial leanings as a teenager or even preteen, anything like that?
It's kind of funny. I really didn't. I always have been odd man out, if that means anything. My brother, I love him to death, but he is Dr. Cantrell.
Right.
He's got a PhD in geology. He's the book brain, very articulate, very learned, great fellow. I love him to death. But I was always the misbehavior.
Yeah.
The one that my mother said, why can't you just behave yourself?
Yeah.
In fact, she said in public, in front of other people, if I'd have had Phillip first, I wouldn't have had two.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
So you got a certain standard. You're trying to, hey, hold my beer. I'll show you how bad I can be,
So, I mean, how did that kind of play into like a mindset for
sure
you?
Did.
Really?
Sure did.
Self-esteem issues
that you can't defeat me. And I learned that about myself playing football in high school. I'm not much to look at now because I'm almost 67 years old.
Yeah. So young.
But yeah, when I was a kid, when I graduated from high school, I weighed 195 pounds and had a 30-inch waist.
Yeah.
So I was boss, and I was starting defensive end on my high school team. And I was starting defensive end because they could not stop me. And that attitude, that blood in the eye, attitude has been prevalent throughout. It's a theme that's recurring throughout every venture that I've ever tried.
So with mom, she's still around?
Nope. She passed away a long time ago,
Gotcha.
2009.
Was it something that was like a kind of a craw in your side?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we had conflict all the way through.
Really?
In fact, as a Christian, it really doesn't matter what your feeling is about your parents. You have the fifth commandment, and it says, honor thy mother and thy father.
Yeah.
And it's the only commandment that has a promise, by the way. Yeah. So when she fell on hard times, had pancreatic cancer, then my wife and I were her primary caregivers. And about 2 days before she passed away, she was in hospice over here on Patterson Street, and she raised up and kind of out of her delirium of morphine that they had her on at the time, and said, Phillip, I just want you to know I'm sorry for everything I ever did to you.
Oh, that's amazing.
And it was a reckoning. It was really a come to Jesus moment.
It's so funny because the reason why I'm asking all these questions, because it sounds similar to my upbringing.
Yeah.
I was, I guess, the hard one, the difficult one, but somewhat of a, I guess, dare I say, a trailblazer. I just did things the hard way. Yeah. My brother did the well-beaten path. He went to college. Yeah. My parents wanted him to get a degree and stuff. Wanted me to get a degree too, but it just wasn't in the cards.
See, Jim, this is why we get along so well, because we're right there. We're right 2 peas in a pod, brother.
But the same thing happened with my brother because they were so intent on putting him on a certain path. My father, on his deathbed, apologized to my brother. Not that we had a bad relationship with our dad. Our mom was a little bit more terse, but I mean, she's still fine. But our dad, we loved him. We just adored the guy. And because he put him on such a
pedestal.
Not a pedestal. I mean, they had everything so mapped out. Hey, we know you want to do music, but you should really have something to fall back on. So he had to get the BS in business and stuff like that. That ended up translating. He graduated not knowing what he wanted to do. Had an incident that basically led him to the law, and then he became a lawyer. He's been doing that for the past 30 some odd years. Does he still love it? I don't know. He hasn't really had that pivot moment. I'm trying to lean him into it, but he's 55.
It's always good to have an attorney in the family.
Oh, it's totally good. Totally good. But he's a good one. He's a great one. I mean, what a freaking grind. Yeah. My gosh. Yeah. So he had one of those moments too. That's why I'm fascinated, because my dad apologized to him saying, sometimes my ways weren't always the right way. And I apologize if I made you do something you weren't meant to do in your life.
Well, that takes a real adult to admit that, right?
Hey, it's a deathbed confession, man.
Yeah. And it's kind of sad, though, when you look at it, that it got to the deathbed before the confession or the apology came forth.
But as a kid, as us seeing that, it's good for us to keep that in your back pocket. That's because my kids always see me apologize.
Yeah.
I mean, to a fault.
Just be real. Yeah. Just be real. Don't try to pump it up. Don't try to masquerade. Don't try to fake it. Just be real.
Right. So was college in the cards for you? Did you do all that stuff?
Yeah. I went into University of Tennessee, Go Vols, in 1977 when I graduated from high school. Yeah. And thought I was going to be a career Army officer. Joined ROTC, had planned on graduating, do you know how ROTC works?
I remember it in high school.
Roughly. Okay.
Yeah.
So in college, it's a little bit different. So you're training for 4 years, you're learning for 4 years. And then when you graduate, graduate as a second lieutenant in the Army. You're graduating with a degree and a brown bar, they call it. So I had aspirations of becoming a career military officer. I've always been interested all my life, interested in military history. So I was going to be George Patton. That was going to be me.
Right.
And first 2 years, there's no obligation. You go to ROTC class just like any other class, and you drill. You put on the uniform, you go out and breathe chiggers and ticks in the woods on weekends. And then at the end of those 2 years, it becomes obligatory. You have to sign a contract. You start getting paid. They pay for your books and pay you a stipend each month. And then you're obligated for 6 years after you graduate to be in the Army. And so I did my boot camp, what anybody would when they joined the Army. They did the boot camp when I was a freshman in my freshman year, and then was ready to go to A school, get ready to sign the papers and go to A school. I was going to be a tanker, going to be a tank commander, truly George Patton.
That's a cool job.
Yeah, it is. Blowing stuff up, man. It's awesome. Trouble is, in the real world, the stuff you're trying to blow up is trying to blow you up.
You're right.
So that's a little bit of an issue, but I was young and dumb and didn't really care. So, but I had fallen in love at that time and with a young lady, and she persuaded me to not sign the contract. And so that's how I didn't become a career military officer. It was because I balked, and it's finished out the 2 years in college. Came out of college, felt bad about that, joined the Naval Reserve. Part-time weekends, 2 weeks a month, 2 weeks of summer, and did that for several years. So my cumulative military time was 8 years, but it's all part-time stuff. So anyway, my dad and I started a commercial printing company together about a year or so after I was out of school, and named Cantrell Graphics. Imagine that. And so we grew that up to about, I don't know, we had 6 employees, I guess, in a 5,000 square foot printing plant, and other printing companies saw what we were doing, came and made us offers to acquire us. And his energy level at the time was kind of plateauing. He was in his late 50s then, and I was still young and dumb and in my 20s, and my energy level was going vertical. So rather than divorce the family, we sold the company. We were having a lot of conflict on how we wanted to grow, how fast we wanted to grow, what we wanted to do. And he was like, take it easy, take it easy, take it easy. And I was like, no, we need to go, blow and go. Let's go. So anyway, we sold the company in 1988. I went to work for another printing company in town. Excuse me.
You're good.
Went to work for the acquiring firm for a little while. That didn't work. Went to work for another printing company in town, became sales manager, worked my way up through that, and then finally wound up at a larger firm in Nashville, and ended my career 18 years into it as general manager of a 54,000 square foot printing plant. There were the 2 owners and me, and everybody else worked for me. So that was where a lot of my business expertise came from. And if you know anything about commercial printing, it's a cutthroat business. It is bloody. You will rip each other's throats out for sport and lose a 20-year relationship over 3 cents per thousand. There is zero loyalty. It is a fiercely competitive industry, and you either sink or swim pretty darn fast.
Wow.
So that's where I got tough, I guess, and realized that because of that, I won't say hatred, but the hardness of the industry, I said, this is really not for me. This is not something that people live long and prosper in this industry. And everybody in their 50s in that industry at the time was a chain smoker and a heavy drinker. That should tell you something.
Yeah.
So I said early on, when I took some of the money from where we sold Cantrell Graphics, and I said, I'm just going to start rehabbing houses. So I would buy them, move in them, fix them up myself, nights and weekends. And that worked pretty well. And it was fun. I like working with my hands. I like seeing a rough product turned into a finished product.
Was that something that you were familiar? Did you have a carpentry background before that?
My dad had always been into woodworking when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And he had a shop, always had a shop in our basement. And he liked to refinish furniture. He would take an old pie safe or an old wardrobe and pull it apart and repair all the pieces, refinish it, put it all back together, and have a beautiful piece of furniture right there for everybody. In fact, I still have a couple of pieces he did in my house.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of cool. So there's an inclination, but never any formal training is the direct answer.
Right. So you just went into it, hey, I'll just figure it out.
Pretty much, yeah.
Rehabbing, flipping houses.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, the internet was non-existent.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I come from a time before cell phones and the internet. So
I know. Great time.
We would read magazines, and there were magazines called Country Home and those types of magazines. And This Old House, that show I think is still on, actually.
Dude, I used to love watching that show.
And by the way, Norm Abrams is finally retired completely and lives in, I think, Maine, somewhere on the coast.
Of course he does.
Incognito, and nobody knows him, and he's just a little
leave
guy.
me alone. Just,
That's right.
I want to stay in my old house and just
had enough. He's had enough. Anyway, long story short, that's where I got my start in real estate.
There you go.
And I realized that I needed my license to be effective at that. And, I have two speeds, wide open and full stop.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real in between there. So if I'm going to do real estate, then I'm going to do real estate. And we did. And we have, and we continue to.
Well, you got into it during a time that, in 01, 02, you said you got your license.
02. Yep.
Was there an onslaught of people? Because, that's, I was in Vegas at that time, and I think the real estate market just started to get off, get real heated up.
Yeah, yeah. There was a beginning, really it started to kick into gear in 04.
Yeah.
So I caught it. Yes, Lord was looking out for me. I caught it right on the upswing.
Right. And
really had a really good run there for several years. And we were dealing in the larger high-end stuff in Williamson County. I mean, our average list price then was, I think, about $850,000.
Mm-hmm.
And that would probably
that's average now.
Yeah, well, it would probably be $1.5 million, $1.7 million house now. With the way they've been inflated. But so I thought I had built a team of about 13 agents there and built it up, and I was the main rainmaker, and there were those other agents were setting site, doing various things for the builders, and we were moving and grooving. And then 08 hit, and that was the mortgage crisis, the financial crisis in America, which absolutely devastated the economy. And it hit the high end market first. It hit so hard, so fast, it was like somebody flipped the light switch off and forgot to tell us the store was closed. Literally, you had calls and appointments all the way on till Thursday, and then the phone just stopped. Mm-hmm. And my largest builder came to me after a couple of weeks of that and said, my houses are not selling. I'm going to go start my own real estate firm because I need to control that. I'm like, okay, well, that's a business decision. It stinks, but whatever. What I didn't realize that he enticed 7 of my 13 agents to go with him before he ever came and talked to me.
Oh, nice.
So kicked at the curb and then kicked in the guts. Mm-hmm. And so what are you going to do? Well, you figure out a different plan, or you fold your tent and go hang your shingle on somebody else's wall. And so I sat down and I contemplated what other large brokerages were doing in the United States, and that would have been in November, December, and January of 08. Mm-hmm. And rewrote our business plan and relaunched Benchmark under a fee-based revenue model February 1 of 2008. And fee-based, if you know anything about real estate commissions and how they work, typically a traditional brokerage takes a percentage of the agent's commission. Mm-hmm. So if an agent sells it, gets a $10,000 commission, the brokerage gets $3,000 of it, the agent gets $7,000. That's a 70-30 split, and that was the prominent structure then. What we did was I said, well, let's look at what other industries are doing. What are the best practices in other industries? And this is kind of an important point here. Mm-hmm. Just because you've always done it that way are the 7 worst words combined in the English language, right? So you look outside your industry for best practices, and that's what we did. Looked at the insurance business. You think about insurance. If you sell a policy, as long as that policyholder continues to pay, that agent has revenue. So why can't we do that in real estate? As long as that agent is alive and producing and doing something, they're going to pay us a fee each month instead of a percentage of their commission. Mm-hmm. That's what I mean when I say we switched it to a fee-based model.
Yeah.
We did that February 1 of 2008, literally staring at the abyss. Mm-hmm. And first couple of years on that model, it was pretty tough. Of course, it was pretty tough in America for everybody back then. All you kids listening to this, you have no idea. It was 1929 all over again.
That was probably worse, I would say.
It structurally, or in gross dollar terms, it was a lot worse. Yeah. So anyway, a couple of years into it, it began to turn, and got bigger and bigger and bigger. And the thing with a fee base versus a percentage-based revenue broker can have a profitable business on 7 or 8 agents. Okay. A fee-based broker has to have 50. Mm-hmm. That's a big difference. That's a big gap. So you got to scale, and you got to scale fast. Yes. Yeah. Very much like Walmart versus your boutique firm on the corner.
Right.
Kind of the same thing. So we had to scale, and that's, we turned in once we hit about 75 agents, I knew it was going to work. But there was a while there I distinctly remember in 2009 having a conversation with the Lord saying, Lord, if this doesn't turn, I'm going to have to go get a job. Mm-hmm. And an agent with another brokerage here in town walked in the door with her license and said, I'm sick of that guy over there. Would you take my license? I'm like, yeah. And within, 90 days, 40 more had followed her in the door from that brokerage.
Really?
Yeah. So it was definitely a divine intervention there.
Whatever you want to film, wherever you want to film it, we can film your show from just about anywhere. Want to film a special episode of your podcast in a new location? We can do that for you. How about creating your short form video content at home or in your office? We can do that for you. Whatever you want to film, wherever you want to film it, it's your show. We just produce it for you.
So from the time you made that decision to go fee-based to that moment, what did it look like?
About a year and a half.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. There were many months when I was borrowing money on my home and a HELOC to pay the rent.
What was like the worst? Tell me about the day you wanted to hang it all up. Is that in that year and a half, there had to be several of them.
Oh yeah.
What was like, what kept you going?
So there's two things about that. One is I was so busy. It's kind of like, you ask a soldier in combat, were you scared? Well, of course I was scared, but I was too busy doing what I needed to do to worry about being scared. And so that's kind of the answer I was in, or kind of the boat I was in. I was too busy working like a dog, feverishly, to get out of this, that I really didn't focus a whole lot on, hey, I might be in trouble here. The other thing is that I had a very good partner in my wife who said, honey, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. The kids and I are counting on you doing this. And so I just kept going. That and my faith in the Lord is what brought me through it. No question about it.
Because, there's so many business owners right now listening to this that are probably having days like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We went through a season, we're still, kind of coming out of it now, where my business partner, John, and I, we didn't take pay for probably a good year and a half or so. Mm-hmm. And we finally just started paying ourselves a little bit. But we're also in a very, we're not in a commoditized industry. We're in a very want-based industry in terms of the lighting and stuff like that with car washes.
Yep.
We're trying to get more to a commodity where we're in need, and we're getting in that general direction. But man, when you have something that kind of dries up, it's like you start panicking.
It's physically painful.
Yeah.
It's physically painful. And and what you have to be careful of when you're in a scenario like that is letting it go to the dark side. We all have a dark side, and we have a choice. We can either harness the dark side for productive measures and be positive with it, or we can let the dark side take it over. And that's where people have drug and alcohol use problems. Mm-hmm. You could either go that way in a scenario like we're talking about. The trick is to just keep your head focused on what the goal is. And of course, I had a strategy, and that's another key point is you have to have, my belief, a written strategy of what you're going to do, what the milestones are you're going to achieve, and what the dates are that you attach to those milestones. And then you have a scoreboard, and you know how you're progressing toward the goals that you're trying to achieve. That gives you measurable comparisons. And those measurable comparisons are, even though they may be small and incremental, they are reinforcing. And you keep pushing, never quit.
Well, those little moments of like your, construction company that was feeding you for a while, they doing what they did and, knocking you down and kicking you while you're down. So those are motivating moments, aren't they? Yeah.
So going back to the personal issues with family that we were talking about a minute ago, the basic point of somebody says, you can't do that, you shouldn't do that, you ought not to do that. My comment is, hold my beer.
Right.
I'm going to show you how to do this.
You literally have two choices to make at that when you have those instances.
That's right.
I had a teacher in the 8th grade, or it was 7th grade. And I always wonder, I'm like, okay, now that I'm older, it's a motivation tactic. Probably, is it effective? But it also, was that your intent? You know what I mean?
Well, the ability to harness it is effective.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a positive thing at the time that's happening.
No.
And you should never do that to anybody, I think, in my opinion. But, to be able to take that and harness it and work it for positive, work it for good.
Yeah.
You meant it for evil, but the Lord meant it for good. And that's kind of that's where we have to go.
To be fair, this guy was a Vietnam vet. And probably
PTSD going on there. Yeah.
Maybe some of that, but also the boot camp mentality,
right.
It's we're to motivate you by tearing you down and building you back up kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which a lot of, sometimes it works.
Well, and that generation had a lot of that. I mean, pretty much every male over 80 when I was growing up, or every male over 60 when I was growing up, had been in the military and been in war. Yeah. Not just in the military, but had been in war, in combat. My father was in Korea and World War II.
Yeah.
So he had a little bit of that too, but his was kind of a passive take on it. It's like, I am done with that crap. I'm not going to holler at anybody for the rest of my life.
It's like so many decisions. Yeah. They're going to be, I talk about managers and leaders that will show you either how to do something or how not to do it.
Right.
And it's crazy.
Right.
I mean, again, getting back to the culture you built, because it's, how many agents are under your umbrella now?
We are rapidly approaching 2,000 agents.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And we don't hire newbies either. So there's that. So these are all productive, active agents, not just people that got a license so they hope they could sell grandma's house in a couple of years.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not part-timers. They got to.
That's how you wind up with a total of $5 billion in sales on an annual basis. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And when you and I met, it was, I would say, probably 2012. You came to the station to shoot a video.
Yeah.
And we did all that. Whereabouts were you then? Do you recall?
So I was probably at 300 or 400 agents, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know, 250 to 350 would be my guess. I could look it up in the records. I just didn't bring those. I didn't bring those with me today, Jim.
That's fine. I'm just, having these conversations meander. Whatever comes up, comes up.
I remember the reason for doing it was the first time I had actually hired a PR firm to help us grow. And I characterized Benchmark then, and I do now, as a recruiting company that happens to be in the real estate business. So if you look at, what you have to know what business you're in. And the way we grew our revenue was having additional agents pay us fees on a monthly regular basis. They had to be productive agents because that's the quality over quantity thing. There's always that conversation. But our effort at the time was geared toward, okay, we've hit this milestone. Now we need to get to the next level. And that's when I brought in some professional adult guidance. And that's where you and I connected, because they hired you to do the first. They said, Phillip, you need to do a video. You need to do a video. And I said, yeah, look at this face. I have a face made for radio, not video. And they said, well,
I thought you were a good looking dude.
Jim put me in the corner and turned the camera on and started talking, and I was
it turned out really good.
Here we are. Yeah, it's still on the Benchmark YouTube channel, by the way.
We should probably refresh it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Fortunately, I'm not in charge of those things any longer.
Right. So as you build a business, I think it's a lot of gurus, people out there, especially on social media now. A lot of them like to say things, well, you got to know when to say no, and you got to, you work on your business, not in your business. And it's like, you got to wonder, have you ever even owned a business? Because you have to work in your business, and hopefully with the extent and the expectation to be able to. Yeah. You have to earn your way to working on your business.
That's right.
What was that time frame for you? Because you started in 2006, you recalibrated in 2008. When did you feel like you really were able to work on Benchmark?
I distinctly remembered it was 2011.
Wow.
That's when I hired my first principal broker to supervise the agents. Mm-hmm. And then my focus was on growing the business and recruiting and developing the processes and operations of the back office. And, you can have a lot of people, but if you have you can have a lot of agents, you can have a lot of sales, but you don't have a back office operations to support that and streamlined operations, you can get upside down pretty fast and become unprofitable. And so that became my focus. But that was 2011, 2012 when I hired the first principal broker and split my job.
Telling you, mostly Middle Tennessee business podcast audience. Did you just hear that? That was about a 5-year time frame.
There you go.
And it's always about the length of the runway.
Yep.
To know if you've got something.
That's right. That's right.
It's always around that time frame. It's crazy.
You can tell if it's got legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're about, in our industry doing what we're doing, we're going into our 5th year.
There you go.
So it's,
let's get ready to blow up on you.
Yeah.
I can feel it. That's how it works.
Let's just, you keep digging, and hopefully you keep digging until you hit the diamond.
100%. 100%.
Because working on your business, I believe you're able to start working on culture. And a friend of mine, Joe Agresti, he owns the Dream Motor Group, the Mercedes and Ferrari dealerships and everything. He calls himself CEO, but he sees it as culture enforcement officer.
Yes.
And with culture, you don't get to 2,000 agents without some sort of a North Star culture. Mm-hmm. Was that something you had in the back of your mind going into it, or did it just naturally happen?
Not going into it, because you're busy selling houses and you don't really have time to think about it. Then when we switched over to the fee-based model, when I rewrote the business plan, formal 48-page business plan, I incorporated it into that. This is how we're going to do it. The idea at the time of doing that was seeking capital, and never could get anybody to give me any money, so I just did it myself. School of Hard Knocks. But I incorporated we have 6 mission statement points, and I incorporated those into the business plan. And it's carried through all the way. All of our conference room walls have these points on the wall, and it's been a good guiding principle for us. And then, by the way, CEO, that's an interesting role that I've held for a long time. It's the CEO's role, the leader's role, whether you're CEO, president, or supervisor, is to blaze the trail, to lead the way, to share the mission. And that oftentimes when a team falls apart because of lack of clarity is one of the reasons. There's actually multiple reasons, but that's usually a big one. Mm-hmm. And the leader's role is to provide the clarity. This is the hill we're going to take. This is the mountain we're going to climb. Y'all come on with me. And they've got to know that you're willing in there digging it with them. So you lead from the front, not from the back. Mm-hmm. In that role, you send a lot of communications out. So 2,000 agents, we haven't always had 2,000 agents, but I've always been a constant, steady stream of communication going out to everyone that worked for us. Keep in mind, we have W-2 employees and 1099 independent contractors, which are what the agents are. Of the W-2 employees, we have about 36 of those. Mm-hmm. So it's a small nucleus of people that manage all this. But the letters C, E, and O stands for Chief Email Operator, because you're communicating, and you got to be visible. You gotta share the mission. You gotta breathe it. You gotta live it. You gotta eat it.
What was your modus operandi getting into doing your own thing? Why did you want to do it?
That's a really good question. I guess I have the role of I liked real estate, and if I wanted to do real estate, as I mentioned earlier, you either do it big or you don't do it. And so to me, the logical progression was to have a real estate brokerage and to grow it as large as possible. People used to ask me, how big do you want Benchmark to be? And, what do you want it to look like? And of course, I had a strategy, I had a business plan, but my answer was to ask them a question and say, do you have children? Yes. Well, if your child is a baby and somebody asked you, how big and strong and smart do you want that baby to be? What would your answer be? And their answer would be, well, as big and strong and smart as it possibly can be. And that's my answer about Benchmark.
Right.
I want to be as big and strong as possible now.
Would you be, if you went back in time and told yourself where you are now, would you be surprised back then?
I don't think so.
No?
That really sounds arrogant as crap when I say that, but I don't think so. I think in my world, there were times of concern, but there was never times of doubt that I would make it, that it would grow, that it would do what it was supposed to do. It's just, I got, used to call it blood in the eye. You get blood in the eye and this is going to happen. I'm going to put my head through that wall and I don't care what happens.
Does your garage door sound like this? If it does, it's screaming for help. Call Incredible Doors, 931-348-DOOR. We're making garage doors in Murray and Williamson counties work better and sound better. We just make them incredible again. Go to IncredibleDoors.com or call 931-348-DOOR. Follow us on Facebook for specials on maintenance visits, keypads, and other items. 931-348-DOOR. IncredibleDoors.com. This used to be a podcast. We called it "What's Your Problem?" because it was based on the notion that there's always something. You still get "it's always somethings" in what you're doing today? Do they still pop up?
Well, let me clarify what I'm doing today, okay? Because I have I actually sold Benchmark in 2020.
Oh, okay.
I sold it to United Real Estate, which is the largest real estate broker, the 7th largest real estate brokerage in America.
All right.
I maintained running it for the last 5 years. And at the first of this year, I have stepped aside and said, okay, I'm now an independent contractor. I no longer own it. I no longer run it. I have put the team in place, and it got to the point where this is a whole different conversation of mergers and acquisitions we could go into.
Sure.
But I realized that if I kept hanging around on a daily basis, 12 hours a day, that I was inhibiting the growth of others. Mm-hmm. And you have to make sure your team leaders coming behind you have the ability, have the runway to grow and do things the way they want to do it.
They can kind of expand and flex and everything.
That's right. So back to your question.
Mm-hmm.
There is always something, and usually it's an external factor. In the real estate world, it was 2008. The market just went to crap.
That was a big something.
That was a big something.
Yep.
And it took 5 years to get over that, market-wise. Right now we have, in 2019, we have the class action lawsuits that were launched against NAR and the real estate brokerages.
I remember
and those have they're not over yet. Here we are 6 years later, and they're not done yet.
Yeah, the lawyers love that.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
So far,
keep it going for another 6.
The settlements are north of $1 billion now.
Oh, wow.
It has really damaged our industry, and it has fundamentally altered the structure of how real estate brokerage happens. And
now, again, to a layman, those lawsuits were mainly about clarity and transparency on commission structures.
Yeah, well, price setting. They were based on antitrust. They were antitrust class action lawsuits. They were puffed up, but fundamentally, if you as a consumer go to engage a real estate agent, you need to understand exactly how this entire process works. And I fundamentally, to my core, agree with that. But in many cases, it was like, well, this is the way we've always done it, so you're going to pay me X percent. And the X percent had sort of become a standard assumption. And that's kind of where the price fixing comes in.
Yeah.
You can't have a standard assumption. And the process the quality of real estate agents had been allowed to decline in America to a certain extent. I don't want to paint with too wide a brush on that, but there are certain areas where anybody who could pass a breathing test could get their real estate license, and that harms the consumer.
Sounds like radio.
Yeah,
if you could fog a mirror, go ahead, crack the mic.
Yeah, you get some slick lawyers, and they can have a big time with that, and that's what happened. So you had the seller side claims, and then you had a whole raft of copycat lawsuits. There were actually about 26 total lawsuits.
Oh my gosh.
Fundamentally structured around the seller side of the transaction, and then the other set structured around the buyer side of the transaction. So it's really been kind of complex, but that was another 2008 moment for our industry. And I think that's, if you paid any attention to the news line, the headlines of the news in our industry, you've seen a lot of consolidation going on. Remax and Real, Compass and Anywhere. And Anywhere is the conglomerate that owns Coldwell Banker and Century 21 and all those brands. They've all now coalesced into large, massive brokerages.
That's where things get dangerous.
That's where they get dangerous. Yeah.
Because we saw that in radio with 96, 97, the Communications Act came down.
Yes.
Lifted all the restrictions.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, all these companies could start buying up the mom and pop sticks.
That's right.
And now we see what that's turned into.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's turned into YouTube. Is what it turned into.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's your public servant radio signals have become just. I still think there's hope for it in the form of that they could feed podcasting for the entertainment notion. But guys, you still need live on the air immediacy to feed information to the general public. And when you don't have staffs in the building, engineering and stuff like that, it's, they barely have anybody on the air live anymore.
Yeah.
And because of the consolidation.
Wow. It's interesting.
It is interesting. It's amazing how there's so many parallels to radio, because radio, I saw parallels with the car business. We kind of, there was a mystique around what you're talking about in early, I guess when you got into it, when you had more elite people in the real estate business, but that mystique was around that commission structure. And I guess this, really pulls that off. The same thing happened with the car business. I mean, the internet was a game changer for it.
Yeah.
There was you pretty much know what the price was.
Yeah.
And what the cost was. And everything.
I did, so that's an interesting analogy where you're going with that, because I did a talk one time on the car business and relating it to the real estate brokerage world. And I was focused on traditional car dealers and the painful process that we usually, as the consumer, encountered when we walked onto a car lot versus Carvana.
Yeah.
And Carvana is, you look at it online, it shows you all the warts and stuff that you say, okay, I want to buy this car. They bring it to your house. You don't have to go see anybody. Anyway, the real estate world is kind of evolving from the traditional car lot world into the Carvana world. And many real estate brokerages have not realized that yet. From that standpoint, they're probably dead men walking, figuratively speaking. Because if you don't modify and adapt and walk with your eyes on the horizon to see what other industries are doing, what other technologies are impacting those industries, then you can be devastated by something you never see coming. And that's where a lot of businesses fail. I would say that's probably where most businesses fail.
Yeah.
In our world, in the real estate world, AI is going to be the next big impact.
I was going to ask about that.
It's so you think when a real estate agent takes a listing, when they meet with a consumer, it's person to person, and that's an important part of it. That's the thing that AI can never do. But from that point forward, it can pretty much be done by a machine. Writing of the description, taking, getting the photographs and polishing them up, putting them on advertising medium and sending them out and trying to market the home. All of that is pretty much in the can with AI now. And there are a lot of agents who really haven't clued into that yet. I don't know if you read the article recently, but there was a fellow who in Florida who sold his house from beginning to ending with himself and AI.
Wow.
He went on AI. He generated the marketing description. He took the photographs. He loaded them up in the AI. I think it was Claude that he used. Created the entire marketing package. Sold the house. Buyer came along. Claude helped him negotiate the package, tell him what to do, and then generated the contract for the sale and then the closing documents also. And all he had to do was go file them at the courthouse. Now, peel back the layers on that story. The guy was an attorney. Okay. So it's a little bit of disingenuous information that's being promulgated there. But the bottom line is that a significant portion of what real estate agents have traditionally done is now done by a machine.
Yeah.
And from that standpoint, it is pretty much a 2008 moment for this industry.
Where do you think it's going to go? I mean, is it really, because 08, I guess 08 pretty much shook off a lot of the people who adopted real estate. The last couple of years probably shook some people off.
Yep.
I think in the general business sense it did, because from 2013, you're not wrong. I remember feeling a certain part of that year where I'm like, this is different.
Yeah.
That was the year I got out of radio and went into the car business by God's grace. But it was one of those things where it just felt different. And it was a peacetime economy from 13 to 20 until COVID hit. And then everything just and then everybody became a realtor in 2020.
Yep. And that just does a negative comment on how the standards kept getting lowered and lowered and lowered to qualify to be able to do this position. And anytime you have a industry that is driven by low effort, it is replaceable.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where our industry is. So where does it go? I think they're going to be, just as there is with the mergers and acquisitions and consolidations, where I think that within the next 5 years, you're going to see a dozen massive brokerages nationwide, and the middle guys are going to get squeezed out. They're going to either get put out of business or acquired, and the boutique firms will be fine because they have the reputational excellency on a local level that they have that security as long as they maintain high quality service. People are willing to pay for that. Some people want that, and that's fine.
Kind of like the luxury aspect.
Exactly. People still buy Bentleys, because Bentleys
they want the experience.
And they want the experience. They still buy Rolls Royce because Rolls Royce are handmade.
Dude, people still want to, a luxury travel agent is still a viable career.
Right.
Because they want somebody who's been there.
That's
they want
right.
Somebody who's had the experiences, knows orbits can only lead you so far.
But there still are a crap load of Camrys sold in America.
Oh yeah.
So, there's that. And I think that you're going to see that consolidation. The same thing will happen on an individual level with the agents.
Yeah.
You will see agents, you will see some that do very, very well. You will see a lot in the middle that get crushed out. They either go to work for teams for the larger agents or they get out of the business. And you'll see in our case, the lower echelon, the ones who really don't do anything, they'll go find something else to do for a living.
There was actually something that popped up together maybe about 2 months ago on my Facebook feed. And I can't remember who the guy was who put it out, but he's kind of like a real estate influencer, has got a big audience, so on and so forth. And somebody else within our community shared it. And, with like an amen kind of thing. And what the guy was saying, the whole first line was that if you come across or meet somebody who's a realtor, thank them. And it's like, from a layman's standpoint, I'm like outside the industry. I know a lot of realtors. I've produced a lot of content for realtors inside the industry. I looked at that and I read through it and I'm going, no. Why? Did somebody hold a gun to your head? He's like, what? Because they lose time with their kids and they got to show houses at the drop of a hat. And I'm like, you chose to do this, man. I mean, it's like, what is it? I don't know if you've come across anything like that, but as somebody in the business, what's your first visceral gut reaction upon hearing something like that? Is it like, oh, dude, why'd you say that?
Well, yeah, man, I understand completely what you're saying.
It's like, you're not out fighting on the front lines for crying out loud. Right. You know what I mean?
Right. The problem that we have in our industry, and I'll just be totally honest with you, is that we don't accept the responsibility that goes with the mission.
Right.
Is that it goes back even further than that, one step back, is that our industry in general, and I'm really painting with a broad brush now, is focused on money. Mm-hmm. And anytime you focus on money and not service, you're climbing a sand hill and you're not going to succeed. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the training programs in our industry, a lot of the gurus in our industry, they're like, it's money, 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 numbers, 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 numbers. Well, what about the single mother that has 2 children that can't really afford a house, but you got to find her a deal? Mm-hmm. That's deserves thanks because you helped somebody.
If that's your intention.
If that's your intention. And that must be the intention to approach every situation like that, in my opinion.
And here's where my cynicality comes in, because that's where one of the things
was hiding in there because you were grinning at me.
Because he basically said, he's like, just to get that high of helping that first-time homeowner to get this. And, of course, the comment sections were filled with other realtors going, yes, I'm like, guys. And if that's your motivation, do it for free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. but it's kind of hard to feed the babies when you're working for free.
I know.
Yeah,
but it's like, let's be honest. Everybody's in, we're all here to make a buck of some sort.
So Americans in general have struggled with honesty, right? Yeah. We all struggle with, we like to think up ways.
Humans.
Humans. we like to make up ways that make us feel bigger than we really are. And, the bottom line is it's a business.
Yeah.
And that's a fundamental problem, is that we get too involved in the marketing and the public relations and focused on the money, and we forget about it's a business.
Yeah.
And you got to run it like a business. You have clients, you retain clients, you service your clients, you get paid for doing that. That's how a business works. And if you do it properly, you actually make a profit at it. If you don't do it properly, then you don't.
It's called meritocracy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're going back to the conversation about AI and is it going to impact our industry? And we talked about how that it already has and continue will. And probably every industry is the same thing, but I don't have full exposure to every other industry, so I don't know. But the thing that AI never will do is hold a lady's hand when a deal is falling apart at 11 o'clock at night on the house that she really had her heart set on living in, already had envisioned being in that home, and then it blew up for whatever reason, an inspection, a bad comment or whatever, it blew up. AI can never do that. So from that standpoint, agents will always have a role there, but the question is, are they polishing those skills that will secure that longevity? And that's where the danger comes in, and that's where you have, like we saw in 2008, a flush out of agents out of the industry. You're probably going to have another one here because a lot of agents don't see that. They don't understand that connectivity, that really, what is your role? I mean, we used to think when we had the MLS books, the phone books, that we were the controllers of all the information. And the consumer was saying, we want information, we want information, we want information. And the brokerage industry said, we're not going to give it to you unless you come to us and pay us. Mm-hmm. What happened? Zillow happened. Zillow came about because the brokerage industry abjectly failed to deliver what the consumer was demanding. And AI will fill that role in the same manner if we don't deliver what the consumer is demanding.
Hi, I'm Jason Miller. I'm the owner of Christian Brothers Automotive here in Spring Hill, Tennessee. We fix cars here, both European and domestic, from simple oil changes to complete engine rebuilds and replacements. Most important thing, though, is while you're waiting, we've got the best snack game in town, and we invite you to make yourself at home and get to know us, and we treat you like family. We're located right across the street from Walmart on Highway 31 right here in Spring Hill. Let us know that you heard about us on this ad, and we'll give you 10% off your next oil change. So stop on in and see us in downtown Spring Hill. Do we even have a downtown in Spring Hill?
What would for an agent that's listening to this that might be, whether they know it or not, in that position, what is the advice for them? What should they start thinking towards?
Become a student. That is rule number one in my book since day one I got in real estate. Become a student of best practices, become a student of the industry, become a student of other technologies that could impact this industry and best practices in other industries, and say, can I use this here? Stop listening to the gurus.
I was going to ask about the gurus, but keep
Most
going.
of the gurus have either, like you said earlier, never sold a house, or they haven't sold a house in 25 years.
Right.
And that's okay. But don't try to walk me off the cliff edge if you've not actually been on the cliff edge.
Some of the gurus aren't even in the business.
Right.
I mean, what's any example of, like, because again, my business partner, John, and I, he's he's almost like, I call him Gary V, but clean. He doesn't swear or anything. The Bible's like an organ to him.
Good for him.
You know, and I struggle with it being an organ to me, but I'm a believer as well. But he's like, there's so many unhealthy business tropes out there, business advice, business commentary, and influencers that, why are you, this is a bad idea for anybody to be listening to.
Yeah.
Anything come to mind that's like prevalent in your industry that like for agents coming in, okay, just ignore all of this. Anything?
You just said it right there. Just ignore all of this.
Right.
Because they are on every corner and they are on every social media channel and they are blowing it up and they're getting you to come to their events on the promise that you're going to sell $50 million next year.
Right.
The only way you're going to do that is belly to belly, taking care of the consumer on a consistent, regular basis over time. And everybody who's ever done business with you needs to know, everybody you know needs to know you're in the real estate business. And this is how you feed your family. This is how you earn your living. This is a business to you. And as my old boss used to tell me, you know, you hold on to them with iron talons until they buy or they die. and even after they're dead, you check on the wife, you know? So it's
very car business-esque.
Yeah, it is. But
very similar.
So, you know, statistically, we don't do that in this industry, though. What we do is we say, okay, well, I got a sale. Whoopee, let's have a big celebration, put it all over social media. By the way, nobody gives a crap about what you did yesterday. Okay. I just newsflash for all you new agents out there. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your trophies. Nobody cares about Realtor Prom. Nobody cares about any of that stuff.
Realtor Prom.
Well,
what's Realtor Prom?
Well, it's the association events where they pass out glittery awards and everybody dresses up in their long dresses and their tuxedos.
Have you seen how great I am?
Literally, it's a Realtor Prom. Yeah.
Realtor Prom. That's awesome.
You hang on to your agents, you know, statistically, not your agents, but your consumers, your customers, your past clients. 99% when surveyed, and NAR released this survey several years ago and they've re-released it several times. They've put it out there again and tested it again. Immediately following a sale, 99% of consumers would say, I'd use the same agent again.
Right.
2 years later, do you know what that percentage drops to?
Oh, good. Abysmal, I bet.
8%. Yeah.
They don't even remember the name of the guy.
And only about 20% actually remember the name of the firm.
Yeah.
So this is a huge failure, and it just highlights exactly what we're talking about. We're like rocks skipping across the pond. We're focused on the next deal, the next deal, the next deal, the next deal. And that's what the gurus are telling you to do. Yeah. Get leads, get leads, get leads, go to the next deal, get the money, get the money, get the money. And that's not where success lies. Success lies in farming the field that you have been given consistently, regularly. Any farmer will tell you that you have to maximize capacity on the field that you have and stop looking at the neighbor's field.
Double down on relational.
That's it. That's it.
Go away with the transactional.
That's exactly it.
Because transactional is it's so the same in the car business.
Yeah, you know, it's every business because it's a business.
Yeah, you gotta. It's when it's hunt and kill. Yeah, you know, like that. Yeah. And you're at the beginning of a career, and I remember having my back against the wall going to the car business. That you had to have that attitude.
Yeah,
you know, nurturing the relationships that you just had. I would do that intrinsically because I was late to the game in the car business. I wasn't a 20-year-old, and I understood the nature of the importance of relationships. But at the same time, I still had to make my mortgage payment.
You got to load the pipeline.
Yeah.
You got to load the pipeline. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not disparaging buying leads or whatever to load the pipeline because even if you have a consistent book of business, even if you have relationship business, people die and move away, right? It happens. So you got to replace those. So you have to constantly be replenishing those sources. But what we do in our industry is that we are so focused on the front end that we have no control and no capacity and no understanding of what happens on the back end. So it's like you got them in the front door and they're running out the back door as fast as you can. And that to me is a treadmill that no business should be on.
Right. And it's as your business scales, keeping those relationships healthy. Yeah. It can be a challenge, you know, and as somebody who's like a solopreneur, which realtors are, they're basically Like, again, in the car business, it's as close to owning your own business without the headaches of the back office because it's already established.
Mm-hmm.
The dealership's already kind of taking care of all the accounting, all that stuff. You just got to worry about getting customers, paying attention to your inventory, communicating with people.
Right.
That's it.
Right. The thing in our industry, though, is we're scared to death. And this may be a generational thing. I don't know. Scared to death of picking up the phone and calling somebody.
Right.
Just pick up the phone. How's kids? Your son's getting ready to graduate from high school. Develop a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That relationship will see you through a lot of dark times.
That was one of I tell people all the time, the car business was like college for me. Mm-hmm. It was the biggest educational experience of my life. And our general manager at the time, because he said that, just call your clients. Yeah. And we're all like, what do we say to them? He goes, sup.
Yeah.
Just say that.
How are you?
Ask, how are you, and mean it.
Right.
I really want to know.
Sincerity is key. You cannot be superficial when you're adopting that approach. And when I first got in the printing business, working for another company, I was in sales. And remember those gray metal desks that they used to have in all the businesses?
The monuments.
I think they were military surplus or something. But anyway, he walked in first day, and I had been running a small printing company, and I had some point of contacts to work with, but I didn't really have a big book of business. Yeah. And I said, how am I going to get business? He walked in and slammed the phone book down on my desk. There's your prospecting database.
Go.
An agent will come to me and they will say, oh, my business is in the toilet. I can't figure out what to do about it. Can you help me? Can you advise me? Can you give me some tutelage here, some mentoring? And I was like, first question I will ask them is, what does your database look like? Mm-hmm. And I could tell by the way they answer that question that they generally don't have one. Mm-hmm. They have not kept up with those that they've done business with in the past. Mm-hmm. Sorry, not a whole lot I can do for you. Go buy some leads.
And it's another interesting observation I made, because I always had this observation that very similar with car business, all the commoditized industries, insurance, car, real estate, you name it. But the car business people and realtors, very similar, but the big differences were the fact that car salespeople were horrible marketers, but good salespeople, because they're getting, 4, 5, 6.
Because they're coming to them. They're
at bats a day.
Inbound. Yeah.
They're basically getting practice multiple times a day,
right?
Closing, all the different tactics. Realtors are great marketers, but horrible salespeople.
Right.
Is that about accurate?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, that's probably one of the worst. When I was selling houses, and understand that in my career, I have represented north of 900 buyers and sellers personally, me, across belly to belly across the table. Okay. And the bottom line is that I characterized myself as a very poor salesman, but I was an excellent marketer. And I was extremely competent on keeping the deal sold. Now, that's a bigger deal, obviously, in real estate than it is in cars, because you get them, they're on the lot. They're there. They're in front of you, right? Yeah. Well, we had to get them in front of it, and we had to keep them in front of us because there were 50 other people trying to get them away from us. The home inspections, the termite inspections, the appraisal guy, the mortgage guy. There were all kinds of things coming at you. But I was very competent at keeping the deal done once it was done. But I could not sell hot chocolate. I could not sell hot chocolate to Eskimos. I'm not a salesman.
The other, we addressed AI. We addressed all the challenges that are going on, not just in your industry, but a multitude of industries, that there's just a changing of the guard, an upheaval of the landscape, if you will, in a lot of areas. With real estate, especially around here, you're hearing more and more that, just how are regular folks supposed to get into a home? What do you see happening with that as time progresses?
So what happened in our industry, or what happened in housing, in the economy, was contrived and created by the Federal Reserve. We had this issue in 2020 called lockdowns, and in fear of a recession, they started creating money out of thin air and pumping it into the economy. And this is not anything new. That has always been the go-to mechanism of the government to get the economy back up on its feet. Even if it's political and it's election time and they want more votes, they want to create a wealth effect, and then they can take credit for the wealth effect. And they really did it big in 2020 and 2021. And problem is that they kept going with it. So in the greater Nashville MSA, which is Davidson and the 7 surrounding counties, that's the Metro statistical data. Then you have 2015 to 2023, we had a 100% price increase in the median home price in that greater Nashville MSA. 100%. That's doubled. That means 200,000 went to 400,000. That's not rational. That's not real. That's not market driven. That's driven by the fact that they were pumping money into the economy and making it as cheap as possible. I mean, we have now had, I think they're over it now, but we had an entire generation of buyers that thought 3% was normal. You go back through and I'm talking about mortgage rates. If you go back through the history of the U.S. mortgage market for the past 75 years, do you know what the average rate, including the 2% rates and the 18% rates that I remember from the 80s, you know what the average is?
Say 8 or 9.
6.72. So we are just now getting back to normal.
Right.
Now, answer your question. Those prices must come down. And I just broke the cathedral when I said that, because nobody wants to see prices come down, but they must come down. My hope is that they will come down gradually, slowly, by conservative money, physical policies from the government. My fear is that they could come down because of an economic crash. That would fix it pretty fast.
Yeah.
You know?
And if you're prepared for something like that, it's a buying opportunity.
100%. 100%. So, my belief is that if it will happen that way, come down slowly and gradually and orderly, then this problem will take care of itself. The only other alternative to that is a easing of the government restriction on new construction. Swanepoel T360 Consortium, which is a consulting consortium out in California that studies our industry, they released a report not too long ago that said of all new construction units across the United States, $95,000 is government fees and permits. You can't build a $180,000 house if you've got $95,000 on average that goes for fees and permits. So that's got to be moderated. That has got to be controlled. It's gotten completely out of control. Now, understanding that is California to North Carolina. So that's the average is 95,000. The other thing to do that is repurposing existing structures, commercial buildings. We have a lot of city centers that have dead real estate in them.
Shopping malls.
Shopping malls is another one. It's a big difference in a commercial structure, and a residential structure is quite different in the way it's constructed. Because number one, in the high rise, there's 18-inch concrete walls, and you got to put a hole through there to put a pipe. So there's more electrical, there's more piping, there's more water. So the retrofit is going to be difficult, but it can be done if it's structured properly and has the proper support. I think that is a partial solution. The solution that I see in our specific area here in Williamson County and Franklin particularly is apartments. And I think that's a mistake. I think that's a deadly mistake. It's easy, it's fast, it gets lots of people in a small area, and it's relatively cheap, but it's not home ownership. Home ownership, owning the place where you live, is the number one path to long-term wealth that America has always seen, and it will always see, because you have pride in where you own. You don't necessarily have pride in where you rent. And
you got guys like Cardone out there that talks about renting where you live, but owning multiple doors, renting one kind of thing.
Speaking of gurus that don't know jack. Sorry. He's the millionaire and I'm not. I just need to shut up. So
he, one of the things that they've been talking about and we've been seeing a movement towards, and I love it, is hopefully a possible abolition of the property tax. They're doing it in Florida.
Yeah.
I would imagine that would spur a little bit of movement too, because basically you talk about home ownership, but with a property tax, you don't own it.
Right. No, you really don't. You really don't. I mean, and I have property here and I have property in Florida, and Florida has done a couple of things that I like very much. And I think that Tennessee probably should consider this one, and that's the homestead exemption. They have, if it's your primary residence and you are a resident of Florida, then you pay about 40% less in taxes than the guy who's an investor.
Oh, okay.
That would make up for some of these STRs that we see going in so rapidly, and they have, in some cases, absolutely ruined neighborhoods in Nashville with STRs, short-term rentals.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to live in a party pad. Nobody wants to live in a party pad. They want to come visit, but they don't want to live there. And then many neighborhoods have put up rules and regulations in their HOAs to stop that, but still some of these larger buildings in Nashville have a problem.
Well, even the side effects of 2008 in my neighborhood, where I've been for the past 21 years, was the rental companies coming in and buying up all the houses. They saw the opportunity. And we're surrounded probably by about 3 or 4 rentals.
Yeah, it's BlackRock in private equity primarily. They in Murray County, where we're sitting right now, there was one year, and I want to say it was about 3 years ago, when they came in and bought nearly 3,000 properties in this one county. Single-family residential, 3-2, small lots, turn them all into rentals. Now, the problem with private equity is they run funds in a series of 5 to 7 years. So their time frame is 5 to 7 years. They're going to start rolling out of those in a few years. What is that going to do to the home prices in the area then? They're not stupid. They're not going to roll out all at once, but they will roll out of those homes. So they will return to the market. Now, they may return, instead of returning to the free market for an individual owner occupant, they may actually flip them to another private equity firm. I don't know. But yeah, that's been a problem, and there's been some discussion in Congress about curtailing a lot of that and putting some restrictions on that.
Well, people like to piss on HOAs.
Yeah.
But I tell you, the HOA efforts to curb that in our neighborhood was amazing. I think I was actually, before I got on the board, but because of our HOA, they curbed the influence of the rental companies coming in.
Well, they're fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
Fighting for their values.
Yeah.
Because, if they come in and you got 100 properties in this neighborhood and an investor who you don't know and can never get to buys 60 of those, what have you got? You got Rental Nation.
Yep.
And it goes back to what I said about taking pride in ownership and what you own versus where you rent.
And the crazy thing is the rents that they're paying for, they might as well be mortgages at this point.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
So you brought a book with you, because I think here's the other question I was going to ask. You are really, like, if anybody should be out there putting their thoughts and ideas, responses, influential type of approaches, it should be you, man. You got the clout. You got, a good heart.
43 years in business.
Right.
I have founded 10 separate companies.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you realize I characterize myself, or people characterize me as a serial entrepreneur.
Right.
Now,
I just known you from Benchmark.
Yeah. Of those, I have 4 wins, 4 losses, and 2 ties. Right. If you want to put it in a sporting concern, which is kind of like kissing your sister, which is a loss in business. But so 4 wins and 6 losses, essentially.
Is there any already plans to maybe put you out there as more of a prominent personality on the Insta, the TikTok, Facebook? I see your posts, and I always agree with them. I love them. Yeah. But I mean, dude, you're ripe for a podcast.
Well, I wrote the book, which this is your book, your copy that I'm going to give to you.
Thank you, sir.
And I didn't autograph it in case you want to sell it on eBay and make a couple bucks. But it's Finally My Way to Success, Lessons from 42 Years of Winning and Losing in Business. And it's very transparent. It's very, here it is, do with what you will. And I tell the story, I try to tell the story there. And in writing that book, it's a pretty big lift to write a book. I don't know if you've ever done it before, but if you do it correctly and the whole distribution and everything, it's work.
And it's really like a calling card.
Yes. Yes.
It's like a big expanded business card at this point.
So everybody's saying, when are you going to write your next one? You want to write your next one? I was doing a lot of articles for industry newsletters and industry magazines and stuff. And I've probably written, 40 or 50 articles.
Yeah.
But to what I found recently is I can write a script for a YouTube video, and then I can talk to a camera, and I have written an article, written air quotes here, written an article, and has distribution. So literally the second video just hit yesterday, and I record them and I edit them myself, and I just throw it out there, and it's pretty raw, it's pretty transparent, but man, people are loving it.
Oh, good.
It's pretty awesome.
So that essentially is your podcast in a way.
Yeah, if I cared what anybody else thought, then I would have a podcast. But
well, it's just it's a great source for content.
Yes, yes, I agree. I agree. And
easy peasy. You have a conversation, you can clip them up, all that stuff.
And I think that's probably in the offing as well.
Well, we got to talk about that. I might know somebody.
There you go. Might know somebody.
Anything else you want to talk about? Because I know we're kind of running a little long here, but not bad. So
I appreciate the opportunity. I would say to anyone who is an entrepreneur, who is starting a business or is an independent contractor and feeding their family, is to persevere, focus on the consumer, never lose sight of focusing on the consumer, and stop focusing on the money. The money is the scoreboard of your service to others, plain and simple.
Wow.
There you go.
There you go. It's a byproduct.
That's right. That's right.
It's a tough thing to keep that in mind, but especially when you're trying to get some for yourself.
100%.
Well, there you go. As always, the more information will be in the description. All the ways to contact Mr. Phillip will be there as well. For those of you listening, if you got something out of the episode, obviously, please share it out. Let somebody know you listen to it. Everything's shareable at mmtbp.com. That is the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast.com. In the beginning of this episode, I forgot to even introduce myself. I am Jim McCarthy, the host of this illustrious podcast. And man, good to catch up with you, Mr. Phil Cantrell.
Yes, sir.
And,
yes, sir. Thank you.
We got to talk offline about getting you more public. So
there you go.
Thanks for coming by.
All right, buddy. Thank you.